And we are back. Sorry about that. I don't know exactly what happened, but we are back. This is hard for radio. Apologize about that. We had the internet go out on us there. Um, so, but we're here, and so we're a little off schedule, but we'll get back into it. So, a couple things we need to talk about here before the hour is over. First off, uh, Team Tuesday. We do this every Tuesday where we go in, we talk about a team of mine. Look, man, Broncos fans, I love y'all. I love Broncos country. But we need to stop the Sean Payton nonsense. This idea that, oh, well, Sean's got to give up play calls. Sean's not the guy anymore. Sean is messing up the game plan. Bo is struggling because of him. This is why I don't get involved in the Bo Nix stuff. Because people either love Bo Nix or they hate Bo Nix. He's just become a very polarizing player. At no point do I think the opinion should be, though, Sean Payton is ruining Bo Nix. I think the only valid opinion is that Sean is the reason Bo has had the success that he's had. Now, Bo deserves some credit in that, however you want to go, coach, quarterback credit. But I think young Bo, early in his NFL career, Bo is 1,000% boosted by the fact he has Sean Payton as a head coach and a play caller. And this offense, and we're going to talk about this when we get to power rankings, this offense is really just missing one thing. And that is Bo, if he's going to be the guy, just has to start hitting certain throws. Right now, his deep throw accuracy, if this was Madden, like his short throw accuracy, I think would still be a 90. His mid would probably be like an 84, 85. His deep throw to start the year would be like a 70. Like he has missed 5 or 6 very clear, obvious throws. And this is why I think the conversation around Sean is nonsense. If Bo had hit these 5 or 6 throws that we've all seen him overthrow. We saw the overthrow to Sun. We saw the overthrow on the flea flicker. We've seen the overthrows in week 1 against the Titans. Now, since week 1, and this is also why counting stats sometimes are funny, he's 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions since week 1. Now, has he played 9 touchdown, 2 interception level? There's an argument he hasn't. There's an argument he has. There's an argument he hasn't. But this is why counting stats are kind of funny. If he had hit these throws, he would have like 13, 14 touchdowns to only the 2 interceptions. And we would see a much more prolific offense. We'd see a better statistical offense, all these other questions that come into play because you're not sure, who is, like, you're not sure if Bo is the guy. We wouldn't see as many of those if he had just hit those throws. It's similar to how I feel about the Titans. Now, I was wrong on my Titans pick. They're not going to be a playoff team. I'll eat that. But one of my reasons why I was so high on the Titans is because we all saw Will Levis lose games from them last year. We all saw the exact moments when it happened. And you can't always do that in the NFL or professional sports. You don't always see, oh, this is when this guy lost them the game. We saw that with Sean Payton. We saw that with Will Levis last year. And so I've seen the overthrows with Bo Nix. So I'm not going to go, this shouldn't be a conversation like Broncos country has turned it into a Sean versus Bo argument. I'm like, they're on the same team. They're working for the same. And to the, oh, well, Denver looked horrible against the Jets. Fine. Yes, they did. Denver is also, out of all the teams in their 6 games, they played 6 games so far. They're 4-2, right? So they played opening against the Titans at home. Didn't look great. Then went and played 2 games on the road. Against the Chargers, against the Colts. They lose both of those. They then get back home for a game, go on the road again to the Eagles, and then go on the road again to London. So this is they've played 4 out of their 6 games on the road, and they're 4-2. Think about that. And they're about to get into not an easy stretch, but they're going to have more home games coming up, which is huge. Young teams, which this team still has some relative youth on it, play better at home. I think Bo is going to play better at home. I think this game against the Giants is going to be really telling. And there's going to be some game plans. And this is maybe the one the one thing I will say is probably valid, even though I don't think it's necessarily the wrong way to think about it, is that Sean probably is going to look at some games and go, we just can't lose it on offense. Now, he always wants to score and he always wants to, sometimes it does feel like he is trying to outsmart the room because he wants to prove Bo was the right pick, this, that, and the third. But some games he just knows, hey, look, I just can't lose this because our defense, like, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it would have been possible this last Sunday for the Jets to win because Justin Fields was just not beating this defense. I think it's the best defense in the NFL. I think just the sack numbers, when you have those kind of prolific sack numbers and you still boast maybe the best secondary in football with Surtain, Riley Moss has played great. That's something the fan base needs to get over themselves for. He's just not Surtain. Hufunga's been amazing. Brandon Jones has played really well. Like, this secondary is great. This front seven, which just got Malcolm Roach back, is great. Benito Cooper, maybe the best edge pass rushers in the NFL, and they're going to get Dre Greenlaw back. Like, there's more help coming for this defense. It's already been this amazing. So some games you just can't lose. And I think this game against Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo, as exciting and as fun as they are, you just can't. I don't think you can lose this game. Like, I don't think Jackson Dart in start number 3, yeah, 3 is no 4, yeah, 4, because he played the Chargers in the Saints game and then this last game against the Eagles. I don't think he can lose. I don't think he can beat this defense. I don't think he's good enough yet. So you just can't lose that game. But this idea of like Sean shouldn't be the play caller or have some grace, Denver fans. We were in 10 years of hell before Sean Payton. 10 years of true hell. People making fun of Joe Flacco now. Remember, we wanted Joe Flacco at one point. He was our starting quarterback. Joe Flacco, Case Keenum, Brock Osweiler, Trevor Simmons. Like, we've been through this. Remember where you came from sometimes. Just saying. Moving on to my favorite part of the show. Why would he say that? And this one's going to be a little different. I'm going to take this moment to, I think, for the very last time, because this guy could be every single week or every single day. So I want to make sure I'm few and far between. I won't say it's the last time, but it's one of. I want people to understand the character that Nick Wright is and why we're still allowing it to be more than just a character. So listen, first things first, I love the show, admittedly. And you're going to be able to go back and go, well, why are you saying this? If you like the show, or you're like, I follow all 3 of them on Twitter. If that's going to be a response to this, I follow Nick Wright. I follow Chris Broussard. I follow Kevin Wildes. I even think I started following Greg Jennings. I don't know if Mangini's on Twitter. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. The show is amazing because I think Fox has figured out what to do with this personality the same way I think ESPN about 15 years ago figured out how to do with Skip, which is get this really, for lack of a better word, annoying guy who just has it's a skill to get under people's skin, and he has that skill in spades. Skip had the skill in spades. Nick has the skill in spades. There's a couple other guys throughout history of sports media who just have the skill to just get under your skin. And it's really a shame that that's what drives TV ratings the way that it does. Because then what they do is they surround you with bits and gimmicks. Like, the show has a bunch of really funny bits. And the way Broussard and Wildes play off of it, the show is absolutely a success. I think it's the best. It's currently, if it's not one, it's 1A or 1B as far as the best show in sports media in 2025. And they deserve respect and credit for that. The problem is that I think people take it as not just a bit an entertaining show. They take a lot of what is said as gospel. And they take a lot of what is said as if, and because the other problem with Nick is actually smart. Nick actually knows, like, he is aware of the history of sports, both NFL and the NBA. Now, he's very narrative driven, And what he does is maybe the worst thing you can do, because not only does he know how to get under people's skin, he vehemently wants to be right more than he wants to tell the story correctly. So this is the difference, I think, between him and Colin. And I love Colin, and Colin gets a lot of stuff wrong. We all get a lot of stuff wrong. There's nobody who's out here predicting sports at a level at such a, it even like, it's like gambling. Like no one's really correctly predicting sports at a 60% level. Go look at this NFL season. Atlanta got blanked 30-0 by Carolina and dominated Buffalo. You could not have said with a straight face, oh yeah, this is absolutely what's going to happen. No one's predicting sports at an over 60% rate, which is why gambling and sports go well together. The problem, I think, is Colin tells you the story of what's happening. He gives you a interpretation of it that is easy to understand, and that's why Colin's a great listen. Where I think Nick goes off the deep end is when he wants to be right so bad, he just outright twists the facts and he twists what he believes into a way, into this condescending, get under your skin attitude. And that's his gimmick. And it's so apparent that, and he's a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and that's valid. And they've had success with his ride, with him being on TV. They've had the most successful run in the history of the franchise, and so he gets to attach himself to that and feel like, yeah, man, I am right so much. You should listen to me because I know what I'm talking about. He did the same thing with his early basketball takes, just attaching himself to LeBron. Problem is, he got LeBron towards the end of his prime, so he got one title in LA. And if you look at most of his basketball opinions surrounding LeBron James and the Lakers and just NBA takes in general, he has a much lower success rate because LeBron was the fading dynasty. The Chiefs are the current dynasty. But let's get to what's just most blatant about this, beyond just establishing who he is, what the gimmick is, how he works. He'll tell you ever seen those videos of it Skip versus Skip and you just see the 2 points and it's like, oh, he's just contradicting himself because Skip didn't care to make sense. Skip cared to be good TV by the end of it. Well, let's do that with Nick Wright. And I can't pull up the videos because I'm going to get flagged and copyrighted and all that good stuff. But Nick gave maybe the biggest expose ever to his true belief on the Kansas City Chiefs, which is the entire time last year and the year before that, when the Kansas City Chiefs offense was struggling, and the early parts of this season, he said, look, I don't care that they're struggling. The offense is going to be fine because 15's playing quarterback. That's a fair statement. If you believe that you have one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and Patrick Mahomes is one of those, that he is going to figure it out as far as offensively, and you have him and Andy Reid, fine, that's valid. And he has this bravado of full confidence. There's nothing wrong. They're great. They're a great defense. They know how to win this, that, and the third. But then what happens when that team starts losing these one-possession games? When you're 0-3 in one-possession games, you're 0-2 to start the season. Well, then you have to say the only thing that's valid, which is, yeah, but the offense is great now, which is why I've got confidence. One, two, carry. So when it's struggling, you don't care. They know how to win. They're just clutch. And when they're no longer winning at a rate that is clearly unsustainable because they set the NFL record for most one-score games, winning the most one-score games, 17 in a row. And then when they start to struggle, the only thing you actually care about is the offense looking better, is the offense getting good. Because when Mahomes was struggling, you didn't care that he was struggling. You just cared that they were winning. But now that they're not winning at such a high rate, and again, they're 3-3, and I think the Chiefs will make the playoffs, even though if they didn't, even if the season started today or the postseason started today, the Chiefs would not be in the playoffs. The Chiefs are literally third in their division, would not be a playoff team. Bless me. Sorry. So that being said, so I don't care what their offense looks like if it's bad and they're winning. Mahomes is still the best in the world. The Chiefs are still the best in the world. But if they're not winning at such a high clip, it doesn't matter because the offense does look that great. The offense is amazing. Mahomes is getting back to where he was when he was an MVP. I get it. You got to have a gimmick. You got to have something to show people. You got to be entertaining. But let's not take all of these things that are said as, oh, just because he's smart, which I believe he is, just because he's funny, I think there is things he does that's humorous, and because his show is very well produced, let's not, like, we can call a lie, we can call a spade a spade. His view on the Chiefs is always going to be hypocritical, and he's a fan. And instead of just saying, hey, I'm a fan, I'm going to be biased towards my team, he tries to sell it as, again, he tries to sell it as this, well, I've always been correct. You should acknowledge my opinion because I've been correct so much. When the reality is, again, if you look at what the Chiefs have done versus what the Lakers have done and his NFL versus NBA takes, he just got on the end of the LeBron dynasty versus he's been on TV during the whole time of the Chiefs dynasty. But let's not confuse, let's not act, and this is one of the biggest things, we'll close it out here. We're all trying to talk about the process. What wins? What works? Old school is like, well, it's the teams that run the football, play good defense. That's a baseline process to predicting good NFL teams. Now we put a much higher emphasis on the quarterbacks, as we should. So it's who's got the best quarterback, who's got the best head coach, who's offensive play caller, who's an OC, DC, all that stuff. There's more things we try to talk about the process of winning games because the results sometimes are just wild. Again, Atlanta blanked 30-0 by Carolina, handles the Bills. We can't confuse or give in to people that are just like, well, my result was correct, so who cares if my process was totally wrong? That's not a real take, a real opinion. That's not a real analyst. That's not real analysis because anybody could do that. I could just start guessing on games and hit at a high rate. So, again, stop. The show's fantastic because the show is well produced and there's other people on that show and there's bits and there's other things that make that show wonderful. Nick Wright as an analyst, I'm not rolling, and neither should you. And I at least admit I'm a Chiefs hater. I'm a Broncos fan my whole life. I at least admit that. And I have talked about a process with the Chiefs that I don't think is sustainable. I'm not confusing result with process. I'm not justifying saying, the result, I got the result in the end, so who cares? Let's stop giving. Let's cool it on Nick Wright, man. And he, again, when you out yourself, when the offense isn't good, but you're not concerned, but now the team's not doing as well and the offense is great, so you're like, hey, look, I'm right again. Come on now. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. This is hour 2 of HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for joining me today. Sorry for the internet issues earlier. Um, this has been a constant thing. We're gonna get into power rankings here. I don't know if it's for whatever reason, coaches seem to be struggling in short yardage situations. Now, for a few years, the Chiefs used to be great at this. The Chiefs used to be the best team in got to get 3 yards, 4 yards to score, not just the red zone, but really close goal line situations. And I understand as the quarterback has taken a much bigger role in the NFL offenses, it seems like with the rise of quarterback success and importance and how much more involved they are with the offense, that goal line situations coaches just keep getting worse in. And it's coaches who have good goal line personnel. Take out exactly the Eagles, who, because of the tush push score, I think before the Bronco game, were literally scoring 100% of the times they were inside the 5. Teams just like the Ravens, even prior to the Lamar injury, just give the ball to Derrick Henry. The Eagles, you could argue, just give the ball to Saquon Barkley. Like, if you have a great running back and you're inside the red zone, like the Bills, just give the ball to James Cook. Like, at some point, Tony's talked about this a lot. Just give the ball to your best players and give the ball to your best players situationally. So if you have a great running back, give him the ball inside the 5. Let him go run into the end zone. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to, outsmart him. Again, the Chiefs, when they were doing all those trick plays inside the 5, is because they didn't really have a great running back. So they had to rely on shovel passes to Kelsey. They had to rely on, a wide receiver handing off to him. Like, I don't get it why there's so much struggling down inside the 5-yard line. Just give the ball. And realistically, coaches are already more aggressive. Just act like it's 4-down territory, because then at least you put on your defense to say, hey, I don't think you're going to give up a 95-yard drive. Like, is that so hard? The Lions, it's why I don't really have a ton of sympathy for the Lions play as much as when I talked about the officiating earlier, because the Lions, the touchdown that got called back against Jared Goff, why are you doing that? You have one of the best offensive lines in football. You've got 2 great running backs. You're inside the five. Like, just run the damn ball. It doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah, I don't know what it is with trying to get too cute or trying to prove too much or too creative or whatever the deal is, but there's some real struggles going on inside the 5-yard line with the NFL right now. It is Tuesday, so it is that time of the week. Tony's not joining us today. We will have Will tomorrow, as well as group chat goes live tomorrow as well. We have a new time for that. So, but it is Tuesday, so we need to get into power rankings. Get good, get great, get out. Starting with, as always, the get lost part, which is the worst teams in the NFL. Let's show them. These are the teams that are just they're not good, man. Let's go through the list. The Jets, look, 9 sacks. Justin Fields, we don't know what's going on. We saw progress last year. Not sure if that progress has continued. Are the Jets the worst organization in football? Like, not only are they bad, but everybody who leaves them suddenly finds a resurgence, even at 40 plus years old. Like, Aaron Rodgers is now playing well after leaving the Jets. We obviously know about Sam Darnold, how he's played post leaving the Jets. Like, are the Jets just the worst organization in football? Robert Saleh's having success as a defensive coordinator again. The Bengals are down here totally just entirely based off their quarterback. Obviously, no Joe Burrow means no real success. The Tennessee Titans, look, man, you fired your head coach. Your quarterback says your ass. I thought this was going to be a playoff team. I was clearly wrong. The Saints, who I will give credit, the Saints are terrible but not hopeless. The Saints, probably out of everybody on this list, probably have the second most hope at quarterback, excluding the Bengals, who really shouldn't be down here because obviously, again, they're down here due to injury. The Saints and Titans have true hope at quarterback. Like, Spencer Rattler has been playing pretty well. He is not the reason they suck. The Cardinals, I just don't take this team seriously. I just can't. I just can't take them seriously. And Kyler's hurt. I don't know what to do with them, guys. Free Marvin Harrison Jr. The Dolphins, well, if your leaders are calling out your leaders and saying leadership is bad, what else do you need me to say? And the Cleveland Browns, look, Myles Garrett, we don't want to hear it. You going on that press conference and saying, man, it's frustrating losing the same way week in, week out, can't score any points. You signed up for this. You asked for a trade, and instead of sticking to your trade demands, you decided to go back and sign, at the time, the richest contract in NFL history for a non-quarterback. No one's going to feel bad for you. Sorry. It is what it is. You chose to be here. Moving on to Get Out. Look, man, these unfortunately are just not going to be playoff teams. I know the Falcons got a great win last night. I'm still not a believer. I think this team is too inconsistent. The Raiders, I think we are one bad game, which you might see this week against Kansas City, from even Tony dropping his Raiders. The Carolina Panthers are not terrible. The Carolina Panthers are 3-3. I'm not willing to say they're going to be a playoff team because, A, I don't think they can win that division with the start the Bucs got off to. And I don't think they're going to be a wild card because I think there's too many other teams that are going to be above them in the NFC. The NFC North itself, if you go Lions, Packers, I still think the Vikings have a really good shot. The Bears we saw, I think that has a chance. That division might be all the other playoff teams. Like, it's going to be tough, but that might be the 5, 6, and 7 might all be out of the North. And again, I don't think they're going to be able to catch the Bucs in the South. The West, the 49ers, unfortunately, are here because at what point when you're no longer fielding a real roster? Like, Mac Jones is a cool story, and Kyle Shanahan's been my so far coach of the year because of what he's done with all the injuries, but it doesn't take away from the fact of no Fred Warner. We don't know when Kittle's coming back. We don't know when Purdy's coming back. Ayuk, we don't know. Warner's out for the year. Bosa's out for the year. Like, it's Trent Williams and some guys, man, and some duct tape. If they make the playoffs, give Kyle Shanahan a lifetime contract. The Giants are admittedly fun. They're much more fun now with, and that's all the Giants would be this year. With with Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, you're exciting. I said this, his stats have not been overwhelming. His stats are pretty much on par with Russell Wilson's stats, but you're going nowhere with Russ because you know what Russ is. He's old. He's not your future. And guys don't really gravitate to him. Jackson Dart is galvanizing this locker room. He is galvanizing the fan base. They are now fun to watch. They're exciting. There is hope. I say this all the time. One of the biggest things you can do in the NFL is give your fan base hope. And Jackson Dart and Scatterboo are giving the Giants hope. The Ravens are just too injured, man. They're 1-5. They're about to go into a bye week. I still think there is potential for a really fun storyline in which Lamar comes back. The Ravens damn near run the table, catch the Steelers. Lamar, for a guy who is going to need narrative to get a third MVP, this is sneaky. If you're a gambling person, go get your Lamar MVP odds. This could be a really sneaky story, but right now they're just way too hurt, in my opinion, to be here. Get good, and these teams are valid to make the playoffs. Starting with the Patriots, I got to take the Patriots seriously. I have not taken the Patriots super seriously this year. Drake May looks like the guy. I think we're getting a little too far, a little too fast to them, but Drake May absolutely looks like the guy. This defense, I still have some question marks. Like, I think this is a good team. I think they could sneak into the playoffs. I don't think they're as I think they're going to I would struggle to see them winning a playoff game, but could they make the playoffs? That absolutely has to be on the board. Colts fans, I know you hate this. I'm going to undersell you pretty much all year because I'm just not there with Daniel Jones. Chargers, it's a lot of injuries, guys. Look, the Chargers are clearly a really good football team, but they have a lot of injuries, and I'm not solely comfortable on saying you could just let Justin Herbert be the guy in terms of he's just going to drag you despite all these injuries. I think he's really good. I don't have him in that elite class yet of quarterbacks. And I think we also got to do this with the Chargers. Stop making Justin Herbert's greatness case just a comparison of Tua. We know he's better than Tua. There's no argument there. So It's all good. The Steelers, this is another team I'm going to undersell all year. I just don't see it. And they're better than I thought they were, and I think they were going to be just a 500 team, and I still think that's potential. Like a week 5 bye is terrible for this team. Like they're old, they need rest, and having your bye so early in the season, I think this still has late season collapse written all over it. The Cowboys probably should be in get out, but I just want to give some credit to Dak, man. Dak is playing out of his mind. If Baker wasn't playing as well as he was, and the Cowboys had one more win, like if the Cowboys had actually finished that game against the Eagles opening night and had that one additional win, this would be, if the Cowboys had just a decent defense. Like they're literally last or second to last in almost every major statistical category. So I'm just giving some love to Dak here, man. Dak's been playing great. He would be in an MVP conversation in most other years, but his defense is awful, so they're not going to win enough games. The Texans, it's now or never, man. It's now or never, because I might not believe in the Colts, but that doesn't mean the Colts are going to stop winning games, and they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. So if you're going to catch the Colts, you got to do it now, or at least keep yourself in contention for the wild card. The Bears, again, probably the signature win in the early career of Caleb Williams last night. Yeah, with the Commanders just trying to give him the game by turning the ball over, sure, but you got to take those games when they're given to you. Caleb has played well. I don't know if that necessarily cements him as better than Jaden Daniels. I think the reality of this class, which we're going to talk about this tomorrow. This is how we're leading up to the show for tomorrow. The reality of this class shouldn't be the argument of who's the best, because you're going to have different opinions. And by the end of this year, we're probably just going to say whoever makes it the farthest in the playoffs is going to be the best, unless Bo makes it the farthest in the playoffs. And we're not going to say that because we don't like Bo Nix. The reality of last year's class is, do we just have 6 good quarterbacks? Because that's a win for the NFL. The Seahawks have an argument they should be a little bit higher. Again, I'm using a little bit of Sam Darnold prejudice here, even though he's been great his last now 19 regular season games, or 19 of his last 20 regular season games. That last game against the Lions was standing. But I am holding Sam Darnold against them. Even though I think everything else about this team is getting to that point of we should consider this one of the best teams in the NFL. And with the Rams not playing as great as I think they could have, and the Niners having all these injuries, there's a real chance Seattle wins their division. The Jaguars, the Jaguars are going to play the Chargers in London. I think this is going to be what an if man battle. Trevor Lawrence, who he's supposed to be, Justin Herbert, who he's supposed to be. I don't believe in the Jaguars enough. And I think they have a really good chance to go down, even in my opinion, because I think this defense, which is getting a lot of turnovers, I don't think it's something that's necessarily sustainable. And Devin Lloyd, who's their guy who's been getting all these interceptions, he's not flying to London. I think they can lose this game pretty convincingly. And so I'm not sold on Jacksonville and Washington. I said this to start the year. Washington is going to be worse than last year. I don't think they're a NFC championship team. I don't think they're one of the 4 best teams in the NFC, but they're good. They lost last night in kind of a freaky turnover game, which is going to happen from time to time. Jaden's already gotten hurt, which is one of the concerns with Jaden Daniels coming into the league and still as he's been in the league. So you've got to make sure this is still a really good football team, but I just can't move them into the great category. And here's the other thing too, and we're going to get to this. I want to clarify this before we get to get great, right? I want to be very clear here. Let's focus. The teams that are great is because they have one great side of the ball. There is no elite team that is doing both offense and defense just clicking. And that'll be who truly ends up separating from the rest of the NFL. Whoever figures it out first and starts getting great play on both sides of the ball will be the team that breaks away from the rest of the NFL. Right now, that doesn't exist. It just doesn't. We'll see, though, if another team can take it. So that is why, again, All these teams here and get good have one side of the ball clearly that's humming, and the other side of the ball that's just okay. These teams in get great, and when we go up to one to get excellent, are teams that a dominant side of the football. So the Bills, sorry, let's go with the Vikings. Something, and I shouldn't say one side of the ball. Something is dominant. For the Vikings, I think it's their coaching staff. I think Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores argument, I think it's them. I think it's Peyton and Vance Joseph and Reed and Spagnuolo, best coach coordinator combination in the NFL. The Buccaneers, their fourth quarters. Look, you probably shouldn't be in all these games, and the way they're winning is probably not sustainable long term, but you can't take away from what they've done. They're 5-1, only lost being to the Eagles. Baker Mayfield will be the MVP if the season ended today. That is a dominant fourth quarter team, which is why they make it to get great. The Eagles is still roster. You still look at this roster and go, O-line, receiver group, running back, defensive line personnel, secondary, linebackers. Like, you still see all the talent that's there, and can they get it together by the time the season ends? The Lions, it's their offense. The Lions and the Chiefs, really, I think it's so the Lions, it's their offense. Two running backs, multiple receivers, great tight end, offensive line. Jared Goff just makes this thing hum. Defensively, they're going to have issues. There's a lot there. If Aiden Hutchinson is not dominating or wrecking a game, it can get rough. They already are suffering a lot of injuries again, but it's still one of the best teams in the NFL. The Chiefs, is this the Mahomes you're going to actually see? And I will give Chiefs fans this, even though I don't want to. You are close to being a team that can get into get excellent. You're close. Because if your defense, and I've been critical of Chris Jones, I don't think it's playing up to his standard as a first ballot, as a Hall of Fame first ballot defensive lineman. I don't think he's played like that this year. I don't think he played like that last year. The secondary, I think, is struggling a little bit. This defense is not as great as it was, but it's still really good. And you believe in Spagnuolo situationally. And if this offense with Rashee Rice, who I think is a little overrated, but neither here nor there, if they're back to scoring 25 to 30 points a game, they will absolutely be a team that moves up and get excellent. The Packers, is Jordan Love going to continue how he's been playing? Because if he is, this defense can absolutely be dominant. And if Jordan Love in this offense, again, similar to the Chiefs, has a chance to move into get excellent. Notice, I did not say that about the Lions. I did not say that about the Eagles, the Bucks, or the Vikings. There's only a handful of teams I think can truly get in there. The Rams, I think they can get into get excellent. The Rams just need, unfortunately, now it's going to look really rough here. This is probably not a team that's going to be an excellent for a while because Puka's going to be out for a couple weeks. And that isn't such a big part of their offense. Can this team fully mesh? Can the defense play a great game as well as the offense play a great game? It looked like you started to see some of that against the Ravens, but that's the most injured team in the league. So how much does that truly stand up? The Broncos, Bo's got to start hitting his deep passes. I think this entire team, it is so much different if Bo starts hitting deep passes. And there's an argument, maybe they don't. Maybe he never starts hitting his deep passes accurately. And if that's the case, I can't put him back and get excellent. If Bo starts hitting his deep passes, this is the best defense in the league. They get after the quarterback the best, best offensive line in football. Sutton, Mims, Troy Franklin, like this receiving core is better than anyone wanted to give it credit for. And then you got the Bills, who this is a Josh Allen story. And depending how great Josh Allen wants to be on any given Sunday, this could be the best team in football. And with that being said, for our teams in get excellent, there they are. What's been one of the themes of today's show? There is no elite team. So there is nobody that belongs in get excellent. I kicked everybody out of get excellent. There is no team that is truly head and shoulders above everybody else. There is no team that is truly head and shoulders clearly the best in the NFL. Again, everybody I just talked about and get great. We know the flaws. The Bills, that defense. The Broncos, deep passing game. The Rams, it's now health, and this defense, is it going to play up to its potential? Jordan Love, who is one of the streakiest quarterbacks we have in football. The Chiefs, Is that offense actually going to be this? The Lions, their defense, stacking up injuries. The Eagles, self-sabotage from within. The Bucks, why you win all of these games. And the Vikings, Carson Wentz is your quarterback, man. And we don't know quite when J.J. McCarthy is going to come back. So there is no team that belongs in Get Excellent. There's a bunch of good teams. There's a bunch of great teams. And there's a bunch of bad teams. But there is no elite team in the NFL. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in this morning. Again, sorry about the internet issues earlier. So let's talk Monday Night Football. That was a great win for Caleb Williams. If for nothing else, there's a handful of things that athletes need. Maybe none is bigger than confidence. When you're an athlete, you just have to have, especially a professional athlete, the confidence that you are the best in the world or one of the best in the world. And a lot of times what breaks young athletes is they lose that confidence. It's the first time you go out there and you really just get smacked in a game, whether it's college or pros. We see a lot of times the guys who go to these historically great colleges and they're winning all these games and they only lose a handful of games in their career and they're all close. And then they go to the NFL and they're losing games by 20, 30 points and their team's 4-10. And you slowly see that confidence just leave, just leaves them. You saw some of that with Caleb Williams last year. Not going to say he lost all of his confidence, but you saw some of those games where it was like, man. And yeah, he lost some games at USC. He was in closer games in college and maybe some other number one overall picks. But it felt like when he first got to the NFL, even his play styles, like he thought he was going to be one of those guys immediately. They start losing games, you lose some of that confidence, and it's like, okay, am I still the guy that I thought I was going to be? Am I still a guy who feels like I should be one of the best quarterbacks in the world, NFL or college? This is why last night was so great. Not that he played some overwhelmingly dominant game, not that he was clearly the best player on the field, not that it was even his best statistical game or had some amazing play, but it's the fact he won a game that he probably shouldn't have. When you start to have confidence that your team, not every single mistake is going to cost you. We see this with guys who, if you have a great offense, but your defense isn't very good and they feel like they got to put up 30 points a night, and you see them start to press and make turnovers and they're throwing the ball into tight spots because they feel like they have to make every single throw because their defense isn't going to stop anybody. That game, should the Commanders have won? Yeah, 1,000%. Did the Bears do anything special to cause Jaden Daniels and the running back to have that fumble and mix up? No, not really. But winning those games, you saw relief on Caleb's face. And that's going to go a long way. When he knows, okay, there's other really good guys on this team, they're going to be able to make plays. We're going to be able to win games in which I am not perfect. We're going to be able to win games in different ways. We're going to be able to win games due to coaching, due to defense, due to special teams. That is a huge relief for a young quarterback. Say what you want. This is one of the things that Bo has had to work on this year, is that you've seen relief on his face. Sometimes Bo looks really, he has this kind of uptight presence on him sometimes on the sideline when he's sitting there and he has this one face on and it looks like he's frustrated because he's not hitting all his throws and he has made a bunch of overthrows this year. But then that defense keeps him in the game and you start to see, okay, I can relax. I don't have to be the best player on the field. My defense is going to win me some games. My coaching is going to win me some games. That's why last night was huge for Caleb Williams. And it's so far in his young career, it's the defining win. Because even though they got off to a good start last year, we don't know what the defining win was for the Chicago Bears last year. We know what the defining loss was. And so you had to avenge that defining loss, the Hail Mary game last year. You had to have your defining win. And now you're 3-2. You're playing better. Statistically, you and Drake May are leading the way for these second-year quarterbacks. You just won a game that maybe you didn't play your best. Maybe you didn't deserve to win, but you got the win. That confidence, the ability to take a deep breath and go, we're going to be good. We're going to be all right. Ben Johnson's intense, but that intensity seems to be working. It's having a positive impact on the team. That was a great win. And Jaden Daniels thing is going to be fine, even though it's a bad loss for the Commanders. Again, they just made it to the NFC Championship game. He had a bunch of one-score wins last year. He knows what it's like, excuse me, to be in these scenarios and to have it turn out in his favor. So I don't think one bad game or one bad example of that is going to necessarily break him. But that was huge for Caleb Williams. I like Chicago. Moving on to the other Monday Night Football game. Also, I don't love 2 Monday Night Football games, just if we're just being honest. I don't. I think I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense to have 2 Monday Night Football games. Especially when it feels like they're telling you we think one game is going to be competitive for about a quarter, and then we want you guys to watch this other game. So the expectation last night, I think, was for the Bills to run over the Atlanta Falcons. Didn't happen. Did not happen. So the expectation being that, and then the reality not being so. Look, man, the Bills, this is not, as currently constructed, playing like a Super Bowl defense. And I think what's the most alarming part of this is why I've always believed, I know we want to put OCs with young quarterbacks, and that's the way to go because we've seen Mahomes and Reed, and we've seen, what they hope in Chicago with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I will always believe, proof positive, the best way is have, and my own favorite team doesn't do this, great coordinator on one side of the ball, who's your head coach, and then have your best player be on the other side of the ball. The greatest combination ever in the history of the NFL is Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Say what you want about Bill as a college coach and what's going on the last couple of months or the last 2 years. Tom and Bill were the most successful. Why? Because Tom basically got to take control of the offense and Bill ran the defense. And why did I bring that up? Because Josh Allen is your Tom Brady, Buffalo. So you need Sean McDermott, Sean McDermott. He needs to be able to get this defense. Doesn't have to be MVP level to match the quarterback, but it can't be this bad. And he's got to elevate the guys. Because, yes, a lot of your resources are Josh and that offensive line. You don't have a lot invested elsewhere. Your receivers are young. Your defense is relatively young. You got to right now, and I know there's been some injuries, but everybody's got injuries. It's about to be in week 7 of the NFL season. Name a team that doesn't have injuries. And teams like the 49ers are winning still. I know they lost last week, but have been winning with a bunch of injuries. The Bucs have been winning with a bunch of injuries. The Chargers have been winning with a bunch of injuries. So don't tell me it's injuries. Sean McDermott needs to be better if this team wants to reach the position they feel like they can get in. Again, their best win of the season. And I know, also, let's stop with the fraud alerts, like they're beating teams with losing records. Part of the reason they're beating teams with losing records is because A, it's just who's on their schedule, and B, they're beating them to help contribute to the losing record. So let's stop with that part. But your most impressive win is Baltimore, and Baltimore ran all over you when they were healthy. Baltimore did all they want to. Josh had an amazing last 5 minutes, but that was it. And then it's been a bunch of subpar defense, Josh Allen greatness. But this is why we said no team is elite, because if Josh is not, the way this team's right now, only way they can be elite or great or amazing is Josh has to be the best player on the field every single game. And he technically can do that. He is that great of a player. He is that special of an athlete. But to ask him to do that week in, week out while getting no help from your defense is not a recipe to win Super Bowls, not a recipe to have long, sustained playoff runs, which is what you want. You want long, sustained playoff runs. You're not looking to just, yes, are they still the inside track to get the 1 seed? Sure. But you don't want just the 1 seed and lose. You'd rather be the 2 seed and go far in the playoffs. So Sean McDermott needs to get this offense together. Needs to get this defense together. I wish I had more to say about Atlanta, but I just don't trust Atlanta. Is that a great win for Atlanta? 1,000%. Do I think Atlanta is going to absolutely follow it up with a terrible loss? Absolutely. So, Atlanta, I wish I had nice things to say about you, but I just don't. That was a career-defining win in his early career for Caleb Williams. And the Bills and Sean McDermott, you got to fix this defense, man. You got to. This is HardFoul Radio. Back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Fixing that real quick. Oops. So I just saw something that was interesting, and it was the MVP odds. And maybe this shouldn't be a thing, but I understand why it is. And I don't really know if I have a super strong opinion on it, but I think the consensus is Baker Mayfield is the MVP if the season ended today. If you look at what he's been doing, uh, winning these games, all these game-winning drives, how he's played in the fourth quarter, it feels like he should be the MVP, right? But if you go and look at DraftKings and all these other betting up books and all these other sports books, the weird, I guess not weird, depending on how you feel about it, is Josh Allen and Mahomes are the betting favorites to win MVPs. And some of this is they are betting that Mahomes is going to keep the uptick because he is the more career accomplished player, and Allen is the more career accomplished player than Baker, that they're going to continue being these guys. And over the course of the season, like they're basically telling you they don't believe Baker is sustainable. I don't know how to feel about that. Do we just give, because at what point, and I know he's had the last 2 weeks has been good. I'm going to sound like a hater. Can we do this, guys? I'm gonna give you my most hater take of 2025. I'll probably find a better one, but let's do something real quick. Let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills schedule, and they compare it to the Bucs schedule. So the Chiefs schedule, really, I just want to stick with the Chiefs here. We'll talk about the Bills later. The Chiefs play the Raiders. Why does it feel like every game is always at home for the Chiefs? Like they stacked their schedule with a lot of home games to start the season. Excuse me. Like, yeah. The Chiefs got to start the season. So they started the season in Brazil. Then they were home for the home for the Eagles, home for the Ravens, home for the Lions. They're home for the Raiders, Commanders. Jeez, they're just 3 straight home games, man. Anyway, they got the Raiders at home. They win that game. I don't think anyone's gonna. If you want to make the hot take that the Raiders go in and beat them, in my dreams, yes. In reality, fan fiction. Chiefs. I just named a segment, guys. We just got fan fiction. So Tony's been telling me this. Sorry, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. Tony told me this a couple days ago because I said I thought the Lions are going to beat the Chiefs, and then I was curious if a downtrodden Chiefs team would even find a way to lose to the Raiders, and he told me I got to stop the fan fiction. So instead of stopping the fan fiction, let's fully embrace it. This is my fan fiction take for October 14th. We do this probably once a week. Fan fiction. The Chiefs beat the Raiders to go to 4-3. And I'd even give you the Chiefs beating the Commanders to go to 5-3. You think that game could be close. It's a Monday night game. I then think the Chiefs lose their next 2 games to drop to 5-5. That means they lose to the Bills, which historically they've always lost to the Bills in the regular season. And then they go to Denver, who is going to have basically a mini bye because they play the Raiders on Thursday Night Football the week prior. And the Chiefs go and they lose that game. And they are sitting at 5-5. And at that point, I think Denver is 7-3, if not 8-2. And if there's that separation, are the Chiefs still a playoff team at 5-5? Ask yourself, are the Chiefs still a playoff team at 5-5? A lot of people are going to say yes, because a lot of people are going to have the same view of the Chiefs that I have of the Ravens, which is as long as you have an all-time great quarterback, you are going to be in it. Not going to predict them. But then even once they get to 5-5, let's use conventional wisdom. The Colts, who they have at home, Then they go on the road to Dallas. Then they have the Texans at home. They have the Chargers at home. On the road, they finish Titans. Then they get the Broncos at home. How many damn home games do the Chiefs have? Hold up a second. Why does it feel like everything's a home game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then they had the Brazil game, I guess, which basically felt like they were kind of at home because the Chargers don't have fans that travel. So 9 games. 10. Yeah, I guess, man. Feels like a lot of home games. Anyway, so like once they're 5-5, is that Colts game a gimme? Not the way the Colts have been playing. I would pick the Chiefs to win that game. They're at home. Then they got the Cowboys on the road. I would pick them to win that game. Texans, I think, can be tough. They have the Chargers at home. We'll see what happens there. Titans, they should win. And that Bronco game on Christmas, should they win that in split? Probably is the reality. And then the Raiders game, they win. So if we do that, we just put them at 5-5. The Colts, I think, is tough, but let's give them the win, 6-5. Cowboys, I think, is tough. Let's give them the win. Now they're 7-5. Texans, 8-5. I don't think they would run the table. I think we're looking at a 10-7 Chiefs team. I think I would say right now, after being 5-5, I would put losses. Do they lose 3 straight? I'm going to give them 3 straight losses. I'm going to give them Bills, Broncos, and Colts. 3 straight losses for the Chiefs. Then I think they beat the Cowboys, Texans, Chargers. That would put them at 8-6. I think they lose one of either the last Bronco or Raider game. I think they get to 10-7. This is a 10-7 Chiefs team. That is my fan fiction. Is we get a 5-5 Chiefs team, which turns into a 10-7 Chiefs team, which probably makes the playoffs. We'll see where New England, Denver, and the Chargers finish. Well, Denver, I think, is going to win the division. So the Chargers, New England. I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, a little bit of fan fiction, but we'll see. We'll see. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Again, sorry for the internet issues. So the episode is a little bit shorter. But appreciate you guys for waking up early with me, rocking with me. Appreciate you so much. Don't forget to go check out us on YouTube. Will is here tomorrow, as well as the official. I know I keep saying it, but it's already done. It's already been created. The official debut of the QBR for the 2025 season. Appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all later.